Wait.
It's not like anyone. Hey, pan around.
Everyone.
Within these next 5 minutes, I'm going to share you a subtle yet fundamental shift in your way of being that could potentially save your life. This is just a classic example of what happens to many successful athletes. Not just athletes, a lot of people you consider successful. He is DeMar DeRozan. Has anybody watched The Last Dance? Yeah, you know Chicago Bulls, the club.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan's team. So he's a forward player for Chicago Bulls. Elite athlete, you'll consider him like top, very successful. Yet he's had to go through depression, just like many other players. And his response is, I wish everyone in the world was rich, so they would realize money isn't everything. So this poses the question, why do many successful people experience depression? And this is the harsh reality of many successful people. A research done by MarketWatch in 2018 concluded that rich people tended to be associated with reduced life satisfaction and a lower level of well-being. Also, children who come from affluent families are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. So it's not just the successful people who suffer, it's their children who suffer as well. So why does this happen? And what really is success? And more importantly, what can we do about it? So it was the Buddha who most famously said, the root of suffering is attachment. The suffering of the successful is caused by attaching happiness to external targets and results. Having something that's uncontrollable control you. In other words, you're pretty much enslaved. What I mean by this is, if you're letting a target dictate how you feel within you, that is pretty much slavery. That's like dictating somebody else, telling them, you wake up at this time, you eat this, you go to the shower at this time, you go to the toilet at this time. You're in control of their life, which pretty much means you're enslaving them. Similarly, if you attach your happiness to external targets and results, you're letting the outcome of that result dictate how you feel, which, in conclusion, is slavery. And it is not really about the win or the loss. The result doesn't really matter. If it is about the win, why don't you just play against 6-year-olds? You can win every single time. You can create a World Cup, put it in the stool, you can score 10 goals against him. But what's the fun in that? If you try to do that for a year, you won't find any growth in that, you won't find any happiness in that. Whereas it's all about the process, the moment that you have in which you can fully express yourself. The profound experience of life lies in the present moment, not the end result. It lies in the play. Give all of yourself in the process, in the moment that you have right in front of you. Then you can expect to see great results as a result of your absolute involvement. What this means is, if you do not focus on the result, and you focus on the process, the result will take care of itself. An example of this was a time when I went to visit my great-grandmother back in Nepal. So there's a village called Delkari. It's a small village within a vast farmland. And because I don't go there often, I wanted to know how rice was made. Because rice is a staple of our Asian diet. So I wanted to know how rice was made. So I went and asked my great-grandmother, how is rice made? And she showed me a very important lesson, which was, in order to make rice, you do not think about rice. You think about seed, you think about soil, you think about sunlight, and you think about rain. And if you take care of those four and give it time, the result will happen by itself. The moral of that story is, if you focus on the process and devote your full attention to the process, the result will take care of itself. And now that we understand the dark side of success and how to avoid it through detachment and focusing on the process, It's time to shift our perspective and explore a new possibility. Substantial scientific evidence shows that every emotion exudes a certain type of chemical within the body. This chemistry dictates not only how we feel, but also how we perform. In other words, who knows about the 10,000 hour rule by Malcolm Gladwell? So there's a study done by Malcolm Gladwell which says that you need 10,000 hours of deliberate hard training to be world class at any given field. But this point emphasizes that you can be very competent, you can be very skilled in whichever field that you are at. But if you're not in the right state, if you're not in the right zone, you cannot perform to your best. And to perform at your best, you need to be in a state of joy. Because it's shown that being in the zone produces a high level of dopamine. And it is our nature to feel that. It is our nature to feel effortless, easy, graceful and expressive in whatever we do. It should not be a struggle, it should not be hard. And this is present in nature itself. As if you look at grass doesn't try very hard to grow, it just simply grows. Similarly to fish do not try very hard to swim, they simply just swim. And now, we've talked about the process a lot and how we should focus on the process. But then, how do we know which direction we're going to go? So does detachment actually interfere with goal setting? Before we go into that, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever had a great movie spoiled? Like, you know it is a great movie, everyone's talking about it, but then there's always that one friend who he just tells you everything. This happened, this person died, this person got married, this is how it ended, and it just defeats the purpose of the movie. Who's had that happen to them? Pretty much everyone. And then, if you suppose that you went to go to the cinema to watch the movie afterwards, but you already know everything that happened, the movie doesn't really excite you because you already know what happened. Whereas on the contrary, if you had a great movie that just came out, what would you tell that friend? What would you tell him? No, the friend that has already watched it, that's trying to tell you what happened. What would you tell him? Because you haven't watched it. Yeah, you would tell him to shut up. Like, what else would you do? Because you want to watch it, you don't want it to be spoiled. This is exactly what detachment does with goal setting. Because there's great freedom in uncertainty. Life has been created in such a way that we do not know what is to come, no matter how much we prepare. And detachment does not interfere with desire and ambitious goals. Desires are from the heart. Goals are needed to set a direction. Detaching simply means that there are limitless possibilities between point A and point B. If we allow life to take its course, trusting that whatever happens is for the better, and giving 100% in this moment, we can experience the full excitement that life has to offer. Thus, there is security in uncertainty. The security being, if you take it back to the movie example, you know the movie's going to be good. You can trust whatever happens. So you're just fully involved in the present moment. Similarly, you can do that with your life. So why do we fear and suffer over a future that has been played in our mind? In truth, the mind can only recycle old memory, meaning your goals are just what the mind knows. It's not exploring the full depth of what could be. There is no evolution in the known. If you were to decide how the movie played out, your creation would only be depending on what you already know. So there's no excitement, there's no exploration of what could happen. This is why we shouldn't really let our minds dictate how we should plan our life. Rather, we should just be involved in the process of what is here, what we have right now. And attachment is actually caused by fear and insecurity. If you release the attachment to the no, release attachment to the known as the known is limited. What I mean by this is your mental creation of the goal setting is done because you're attached to the known. And there's fear and insecurity to do that, because you don't want to lose something. If you can grasp this, it will be very good for you to change your life. Because your attachment is external, and that holds power. This next time, don't worry. Summarize, hopefully you'll grasp this point now. I went on too quickly. We've talked about the dark side of success, and we've talked about the contributor, which is attachment, letting external, uncontrollable results dictate how we feel. And we've also talked about what we can do to overcome this attachment. How to set ourselves on the path of success with detachment and joy, focusing on the process, the present moment. We've also talked about expressing ourselves, being effortless and natural, and how that is the key to performance. And you can absolutely have desires and ambitions, because they come from your heart. Release the rigidity of the path. Rigid attachment kills the creative flow. Allow life to happen for you. Be limitless. Be open to limitless possibilities, as there lies the excitement. And that is the power of working playfully. There's a recent quote from Bruce Lee that says, "Be water, my friend." And how this ties in to what we've just spoken about is that water starts from point A and tries to go to point B. But within its path, there are many pathways that it can take. It is not set in one rigid line. If it has an obstacle, it can either go around it, it can either go through it, it could go over it. But because it is so present, it is so neutral, that its action is spontaneous. It is not predetermined, it is not rigid, it is flowing. Whatever obstacle you put in its way, it will find a path to get around it. And when it does reach the end, it doesn't stop there. Because if you observe water, water does not grow stale. Water continues flowing. And that is how water is a perfect analogy of working playfully. And I hope you can take that on board in your life. Thank you. Any questions?
Now you talked about enslaving yourself when setting goals, because it makes you it tells you what to do. It makes your routine for you. So are you trying to say that setting goals is not the right thing?
Definitely do set goals, because the desire and ambition, they come from your heart. So if you can set goals that come from your heart, you know you're on the right path. But the only thing I'm trying to say is, do not set the process in which you get there. You let life dictate what takes you there. So I'll give you my example. For me, I want to sign for Academy Football Club. But the process it takes me to get there, I don't know. I don't know which team I'm going to play next week. I don't know which team I'm going to play the month after. I don't know which club is going to come and scout me. So I let life dictate that. Because if I think about, did that scout like me or not? Did this person refer me to that club who can then send me a contract? If I think about that, I cannot control that. But what I can control is how I play on the field. So if you focus, if you're taking the cricket example, if you focus on how you hit that bat when it's coming to you, you don't need to worry about what the scout thinks. If you hit the ball really well, the scout will pick you up anyway. That is my point. Yes.
What about hard work?
Hard work. The thing about working joyfully and working playfully is that it could contradict with hard work. Because a lot of people say you need to grind, you need to suffer in order to grow and in order to be successful. I also agree with that. And this is just to balance that, because you need to do challenging work in order for you to develop. But working playfully is how you do that challenging work. So you could have a 10k run that you need to do tomorrow. You can either struggle through that, or you can enjoy your 10k run. You're doing the 10k run anyway, you're challenging yourself anyway, but it's just how you do it. And that's what this is about. Any
All
other
right,
questions?
thank you very much.